Same thing happened to Randy. Hello, how are you? Can you hear us?
Just doing a sound check. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Give us just a minute. We're trying to get Councilmember Aradano Savage on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm able to unmute and put my video on now. Appreciate it.
Ryan Spicker, I haven't seen you in years.
You know, Keely, I saw your name and I smiled.
How funny. It's a small world out there, huh?
It is. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
WR
Hey guys, I'm so sorry. My bad.
Hello.
I'd like to blame it on somebody else, but I'm gonna have to take the hit and the full responsibility myself. So I certainly do apologize. All right.
So are we ready?
Yeah.
Robin, you can blame me.
Yeah?
Yeah, go right ahead.
President Smith, I'm so glad you were able to make it today. I know you said you had a lot of interviews or something going on today, but I'm glad you're here. So thank you.
Yes, I was really glad we ended up interviewing less candidates, so that schedule was done earlier in the day.
Fantastic. I love that. That's great. And I know the vice mayor's on, I believe.
Yep, I'm here. All right.
Okay, cool.
Ready?
Yep. You ready to go?
Yeah. All right. Let's get this started. Members of the public may attend virtually. Well, first of all, welcome to our Workforce Readiness and Economic Vitality Council Committee meeting for May of 2022. Members of the public may attend virtually through WebEx events or view the meeting recording by visiting tempe.gov/WREV. It's important to understand that no formal votes or decisions about city programs, policies, or budgets will happen here. Our role is to explore various topics with staff and stakeholders and community members and to make recommendations to our council colleagues. We want this process to be transparent, inclusive, and easy for you to be a part of however you choose to be. And you can share your thoughts by filling out a comment card about any item on the meeting agenda or by reaching out to us directly with any other thoughts, questions, or ideas. We need you to fill out a comment card in advance that can be read into the record for any agendized item. The link to the comment cards can be found on the committee webpage at tempe.gov/WREV. And you will find contact information for committee members and staff there for non-agendized items as well. So with that, I would like to call to order the May 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Workforce Readiness and Economic Vitality Committee meeting. All right, Robin, you're up.
Sorry, I'm a little out of sorts, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Since you've already called the meeting to order, hopefully I think we've had an opportunity to review our meeting minutes. That's the first item on the agenda, Vice Mayor.
Yes.
Okay, and I think that we are just approving, are we not approving, Tanya, the February 28th meeting minutes? I cannot hear you if you're talking. Tanya?
Yeah, we'll say we'll approve them. So
Oh, I thought she said that they weren't done or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know where she's at, but I can't hear her. Is that a yes? Give me a thumbs up. I can
Sorry
see you.
about that. We couldn't find our unmute. We're trying to run the PowerPoint and couldn't find the
Hey,
unmute.
don't worry that we've been in a pandemic for 2 years and been online. I mean, obviously, we still have a lot to learn. It's all good. It's all good.
So,
I got you guys all
Councilmember
riled this morning, so it's afternoon.
Councilmember Ardonna Savage and Vice Mayor Keating. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that February 28th meeting minutes were finalized. The meeting minutes that I sent out were from January, so we will have to take those back at the next meeting for formal approval.
Got it. No problem. Okay, we can certainly do that next time. So we're going to go ahead and move on to public comment. And this is an opportunity where, of course, we welcome public comment. And I would just ask if there has been any public comment cards. Annie, did you have anything? Did you receive any public comment cards?
No, I did not.
Excellent. And Annie is new. So for those of you guys don't know, Annie Mozzarella, which I like, Annie Moz. I like it. Yes. Hello. Welcome. We're very happy to have you be part of the Tempe family. So congratulations. Very excited about that. And let's see. Our very first item that we're going to be talking about is Refresh Tempe, I believe.
okay.
Go ahead,
that
Vice
would be-
Mayor. You want to get that, or you may go?
No, it's good. So that is, I'd like to welcome our Communications and Media Relations Manager, Nikki Ripley, to talk about Refresh Tempe.
Awesome. Thanks, Vice Mayor and Council Member. I think we've got a PowerPoint coming up here. I'm excited to update you from the last time we chatted with you about this in February. Tanya and Annie, are you guys pulling up the PowerPoint? Okay. Awesome, thank you. Yep, we can start with that first slide. Okay. Refresh Tempe. This was the brainchild of some council members earlier this year. It's a really necessary thing to be doing in the life cycle of Tempe. We were founded in 1871. We started booming in the 50s. So it's been already a time of reinvestment, and that is projected to continue for at least the near term. So we want to tell people more about how we're reinvesting. Having said that, we have not organized ourselves in this way before to talk all that much proactively about the capital improvement program side of the budget. We do communicate about the operating side every year, but we don't delve all that much, or haven't yet, into the capital side. And so this is a really exciting prospect to gear ourselves up as an organization to talk more about the capital side, and also to recognize the employees who help us literally build those capital components of the budget and make them real in our community. So clearly it's more than a communication campaign. It's largely about communication and awareness, but it's also about celebrating employees and partnering internally and externally to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make community members aware of how we're reinvesting. So once we start this, now that we've started this is an ongoing thing we'll be doing forevermore. So it's important to kind of gear up in the right way initially so that we get some really great patterns and cadences to do this constantly throughout any given year. Next slide, please. Quickly, we fleshed out some goals, I suppose, of the Refresh Tempe program. We want to increase awareness among our community members, businesses and residents, about the types of capital investments that we're making. We certainly would like to increase their positive feelings about those investments that we're making. We'd like to, if we can at all, increase the public participation at the forefront or the beginning of these capital improvement processes when we're redoing a park, for example. Historically, we've gotten a lot of robust input at the start of a capital process, but we'd certainly like to increase that, and we'll aim to do that. And then increase opportunities for employee engagement to really thank and make sure we're recognizing those city employees who are key to making these capital projects come to life. Next slide. So this is the first of two slides that's really just kind of a behind the scenes organizational way that we're thinking about how capital projects generally fall into two different buckets. Fun and sort of visible projects like park improvements, like new paths, anything related to golf. People love that we do things that are visible. The improvements that we've been talking about to downtown, including those light strings that Marilyn talked to the council about recently, any kind of landscaping projects. These are all highly visible things. And oftentimes these are kind of the fun side of the CIP, quote unquote. So we talked to you in February about broad concepts only. And so what we talked about then was the idea of putting an umbrella of sorts over everything we'll be talking about in relation to capital projects. And so that umbrella, the name of the campaign is Refresh Tempe, and we'll show you a draft logo for that in a minute. But we also thought we would have kind of subheads under that Refresh Tempe identity, depending on the type of project it was. So if we're talking about a park improvement, it'll be Refresh Tempe, and then under that would be investing in your play or investing in your park, for example. So next slide, please. On to the second bucket, quote unquote, of capital project types, those being kind of the everyday needs, the bread and butter, the pavement fixes, the water lines, so that we can continue to deliver safe drinking water and clean wastewater. So that's sort of this side of the capital projects, which will get kind of equal play, we hope, in the Refresh Tempe arena. Next slide, please. Briefly on some tactics that would be associated with Refresh Tempe as it relates to communication, but also other things. So just kind of going vertically down these ideas. Certainly we have a number of tools in our toolbox here at the city, social media, the ability to produce videos about specific projects and show employees doing the work. We have for 5 years some free Harkins Theater advertising. We have those great Ike signs downtown, on and on with paid advertising and things. And of course, the VMS boards that you see out at the site of lots of different projects. Print tools, these are more traditional things that we still do a lot of: posters and flyers, banners, yard signs. All of these things can come into play with marketing Refresh Tempe. And then the right side of that, some different ideas, perhaps more employee celebrations than currently happen today, more neighborhood parties around completion of projects than may happen today. Construction zone signs that are branded for Refresh Tempe, so that as you're driving past a water line construction project, for example, you're attaching it more and more to Refresh Tempe, and over time that kind of comes to signal, oh, that's the capital side of the budget. Outreach at gain parties, and then hopefully in the future when we have capabilities like testing, to be able to geographically zone communications. So if there's a specific project that's really applicable to a particular area, we might kind of increase awareness about that, or showcase it via some really zoned tools that we hopefully will have access to in the coming years. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's your draft visual identity, your logo for Refresh Tempe. We'd love to get your feedback about that today because we'd like to start using it right away. So this, again, is the logo for the project. It represents kind of the visual representation of that umbrella identity that I was talking about. All right, finally, last slide. So some specific updates. We would love to use Refresh Tempe for the first time in a larger scale way in conjunction with the June 10th Clark Park groundbreaking. The way that looks is that identity appears on invitations, on signage, on banners. So a visual presence for sure. But also for the first time reflected in things like the mayor's remarks on that morning. So really starting to use it pretty soon is what we're hoping to do. A multi-departmental work group has been established. It's met once. It's set to meet again in early June and will meet monthly. That includes folks from transportation and engineering, municipal utilities, neighborhoods, the budget office, community services, and our office communication. Really want to get together on the same page super early on and create a great way of working with each other, understanding our purpose and what we're doing with Refresh Tempe, how we're going to measure and evaluate against those 4 aims that I talked about earlier in this presentation. Definitely involving external partners. So folks at DTA, for example, and others are aware of what we're doing and helping us kind of amplify the message of the City Council's capital investment decisions. And then we are working to plan a landing page, tempe.gov/refresh Tempe, that'll kind of be the hub for all things related to the CIP. And I know Stephanie will be talking to you next about a dashboard that will accomplish similar things through her GIS capabilities. So with that, I'd really love to take your feedback about how this is shaping up so we can really start using it pretty quickly here. Thank you.
Councilmember Readiness Savage, do you have any questions or comments?
No, just a little bit of feedback. But Nikki, thank you so much, because I know we threw this at you really darn quick, and not that you haven't had your plate full, with some other things that have been going on, but you've been able to kind of work through this too and bring this together. So, you know, I love where you're going with it. I think this is an awesome start to get things going. I'm pretty excited about utilizing the Clark Park groundbreaking. I think that's a great idea. That's a great place to start. And a lot of things like in those slides, I think it was like slide 4 or 5 that were really helpful in regards to kind of, you know, what it's going to look like and the intent of who's going to be included in things to that effect. I'm fine with that. The logo too. I mean, I know you sent us a few and we gave you some feedback and I thought you did a really good adjustment. So I think that's fantastic. And the thought that you're going to put a committee together. Now I kind of wonder, I guess my thought is a couple of things is, would it be possible for us to see, and I say us, like not necessarily the Rev committee, or maybe we do it through the Rev committee, is to kind of maybe see like an outline and a timeline of what this might look like. And as you pull together this group of people, it sounds like it's going to be a fairly large group. Who's going to be the overall point of contact? Because I think that's kind of what you're going to want to whittle that down. And I'm sure you probably don't want this all on your shoulders. You've got a lot going on right now too. And I know you're working on getting your department fully staffed, but it would be really good to kind of know who the point of contact is, or 1 or 2 different people. And maybe that's something that we can kind of help you vet through when we look at an outline and a timeline of some of these things. As we probably all got it a little bit late, but Tanya, I want to say thank you, because last time we were going to have a meeting and unfortunately it got canceled, and I apologize for everybody that we canceled at the last meeting, especially our Rio Salado partners. I'm so sorry about that, but I'm so glad that you're both back today. So thank you for doing that. But if there's a way that maybe we can kind of somehow get our arms around that, Nikki, because it's so big, the list even that is whittled down in the next 2 years is really large. And I'm not saying we'd use all of them because I have no idea, but at least that's a really good starting point. And maybe you could kind of give us some like thoughts and examples, or you could maybe we could do it via email too. Because I think it'd be really cool to be able to see that. And I'd love to be able to be a part of it, at least, you know, before the new council gets seated too, if that would be possible. So those are my thoughts and my feedback. Hopefully that's helpful. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Very much so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Redondo Savage. I don't really have any additional comments other than Councilmember Redondo Savage's, other than, you know, I like the logo too. So looks good. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Right. We can move on to our next item. We have Enterprise GIS Manager, Dr. Stephanie Dietrich, with the Capital Projects Explorer. Dr. Dietrich.
All right, I started my video and unmuted myself, so that's a win so far for today. I don't think I was able to log in as a presenter, so I'm assuming I just need to tell someone next slide unless it's going to let me do it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can log in as a presenter for some reason.
Okay.
So we'll have to, our intrepid
next slide.
will help you.
Here we go, next slide.
So this work started last year. Mark Day came and talked to us about an idea he had of starting to find a way to share with the community at the start of each fiscal year information about key capital improvement projects that that would be of interest to the community. So things like Nikki was talking about, parks, relevant, obviously the thing that happened on the US 60, even looking at things like water and infrastructure projects, transportation projects, and trying to get a easy interactive way for people to be able to go and see, here's our upcoming budget and here are the types of things that we're going to be doing in a way that was easier than, let's say, them going through the budget book or going through the big PDF. And so last year, at the start of the fiscal year, we put together a proof of concept with Mark pulling data out of this current fiscal year's budget and bringing it together into a GIS application to get some feedback and see how that worked. So this is the proof of concept from last year that we were going to be moving forward with, a revised version of this year. This would be the main page. The way that it would start is, if you see along the top, there are 4 tabs on the right-hand side that allows people to see them by all projects, parks and amenities, buildings and facilities, and transportation. The goal with that is, if we identify a good list of projects that are going to be done in that next fiscal year, we want to avoid people having to just scroll through a lot of things if they're only interested in like a specific area. And so being able to click on those different filters will adjust the lists that you're seeing on the right-hand side of the map page to only projects that fit within that category. They can also just explore the map or use that list showing all of the projects across the city. The good part about having a map as part of this is that if they're also interested in something specifically near their house, they can just go zoom into that area and see things that are near to them. Some of the things that we wanted to work on for this upcoming year is that in some of the CIP information, it's really hard to tell specifically what areas are being touched on in the descriptions. And so that's why we played around with the idea of, if you look at the map that there's now, like you see the orange square with the dot in the center, the orange square is meant to show here's the area that's being covered, and then the dot is what they would click to get more information. The panel on the left-hand side will provide some sort of a picture or image or visual to go with that CIP project to just provide something descriptive for people. So it provides that little visual cue, and then some core information about the project. Some of the things that we've seen other places do that we hadn't really talked about for this initial year of launching this, that I think, speak to some of what Nikki had mentioned, was the idea of actually using these types of tools to provide updates or even provide pictures of things while the work's being done, so that people who are coming in to look at this can see like, hey, this was made at the start of the year, but here is, one of the staff out doing the work in the park. So like for all the ADA playground updates that are happening, being able to show some of that work as it's going on keeps the information fresh and relevant, but also, allows people to kind of connect with the work that Tempe is doing because they're seeing it as it's happening and seeing what that impact could be. Next slide. So on the pop-ups, when they bring that up, again, that provides that additional data and content. The description that's there now, we took directly out of the CIP application. The goal for this year, once we work with Mark and Nikki's team to identify the types of, or the projects that we should include, would be to then try to narrow that content down to more digestible pieces to describe what the work includes in a way that maybe is a couple sentences at a time, with a few of those blocks together, so that it doesn't seem like such a heavy cognitive load for someone to go through and be able to see that, highlighting those key elements about the project. We're open to ideas and suggestions, and I would actually really appreciate any ideas and suggestions from people about the type of content that they think would be useful to really help kind of make this relatable to the community and help them see how this benefits them, especially if we're talking like infrastructure projects where people might not necessarily know, hey, this is how it relates to me. If they click on it in that pop-up again, they can scroll down and get that additional information. But our goal is to have the picture be at the top because visuals often are the things that really attract people to get them to explore more. Next slide. The other element for this is providing ways for different ways for people to filter through for the projects that they're interested in. We're trying to hit a variety of ways for users to be able to do this filtering, depending on what works best for them. Some people work really well with getting into the map and clicking on things. That doesn't work for everybody. There are some people who aren't spatial thinkers where that won't necessarily resonate with them. So providing that way of the ability to filter along the top or on the side, but then also providing some filters that don't require you to interact with graphics or anything like that, that just provide regular text box drop downs to be able to filter that way, to just make this more accessible to a broader, array of people that might not necessarily be map-minded or visual imagery minded. So that's a highlight. We'll be talking with Mark Day this month to start identifying which projects to start focusing on creating the data for, And then we're part of the group that Nikki's bringing together. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, helping us really figure out what this final piece could look like when we launch it for the first time, with our goal was going to be in July. That's it. So any feedback or thoughts are appreciated.
Thank you very much. I love this tool. This is really cool, and I think it'll be very helpful for our residents to understand what projects are happening in the CIP. Certainly helpful for council members and a vice mayor that I know understand more about what's happening where and when. So this is really, really creative, and I think it will be very useful. I do appreciate you guys putting this together. Councilmember Hernando Savage.
Yeah, no, thanks, Vice Mayor. Dr. D, I totally agree. I mean, I think it's going to be great. I think that the hardest part really is going to be like try to simplify it enough so all of our residents or people that are coming through or that work here, whatever it may be, are getting kind of just like the highlights, because I think that's what we really, I think the whole point of doing the Refresh Tempe was to really talk about the highlights and some of those super details. I don't know if people are going to want to know that much information, but maybe we could send them to a link where they could get more information if it's something that they really wanted to know more about. And I was wondering, I don't know if it was in there, I couldn't really tell from the drop downs, but I a lot of times, like, we'll see construction, our residents will see construction and they'll ask us like, hey, well, what's going on there? Is there a way that you can identify it in that, if you go back to that map screen, go back one more right there, right? So I know that they may not know, like, is that a Parks and Recreation thing? Is it a development thing? I mean, is there going to be a way that maybe they can just look at that map and there'll be highlights of what might be going on? Is that what I'm seeing there?
So we can actually, depending on how the data are created, those are the types of insights that are helpful to us. We may be able to add a date filter so that if we do have, a wraparound of it starts here and ends here, we can actually make something that people can filter by that, or we can define it as part of the data set. The other element of this that we didn't touch on is that the symbols are symbolized by the department or group that it relates to, so that it gives you a better idea of what that might be. But if a goal would be that people are seeing, the park is torn up or the street is torn up, and we want to provide some place where they could go to say, hey, I can't get down my street, what are you guys doing? And it's related to a CIP. As long as we can get that data, we can identify ways to really highlight, hey, this is happening right now, or this is that time period, and you might see something happening. Or with like what Nikki was talking about, similar to what we did with COVID-19, where we had that hub site where people could go and see all the interactive maps. Here are the things that the city is using to make decisions about COVID. Mm-hmm. If there are those key projects where people are going to ask those questions, we can put together some of those interactive tools where, for those key project updates can be put in. We can point to pictures and things like that so that people kind of see the progress going on in their neighborhood, instead of just seeing that there's construction and they know that something's happening there, but they don't really have any information to make them excited that we're doing the work.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so, I mean, is there like, can you put in, I don't even know, because I think a zip code is even too big. Maybe you break it down. I don't even know if people know like what character area they're in. But I don't know if they can even just click on the map somehow to get, and a geographical area would come up and say, okay, hey, this is and then you'd have those dots. Because I guess thinking like the people that I know and that ask are usually like what the vice mayor said is like, hey, well, what's happening in my neighborhood or what's going on at my park? I don't really know. So you go to the map and do I put in, Parks and Recreation, or are they doing water stuff? I mean, sometimes you just really don't know, especially as a resident, you wouldn't really know.
So are you thinking like that someone would be able to go in and put in their address and go near to where that's at? Or...
Possibly, or someplace that there's just to give them an identifier of an area is what I'm thinking. I don't know how that works. I'm going to leave that up to the doctors in the house, which is not me, obviously. You're the very smart one. So I'm just thinking that's probably would be a really great way for people to figure out what's there, because most people are probably not going to care about a neighborhood park that, if they live in North Tempe and they see it happening in South Tempe, right? But they're probably going to want to know, like, oh, this is so cool. What's going on in my area? What can I be expecting in my area?
And we can make that filter we can basically make the map filter what options there are. So if they're zooming down into their area, it just limits what they see. So instead of seeing everything, you're only seeing the projects related to the area that you can see on the screen. And then you can filter by those other attributes. So the different types of projects there are, or if we add some sort of a date filter. So that would be a good way to narrow it by geography without trying to get people to understand, like, what's my neighborhood association, or what is a character area. We could add character areas.
It could be a multi-tool, right? And they don't even know it. So I think that's great. And I love the idea of highlighting the departments too. So people really understand like what department is responsible for what, so they can, I think, connect the two and just really appreciate our employees because they're working really hard. So I think that would be great. And then my other thing is I know it says the CIP Projects Explorer. I don't know if that's the final name or whatever is going to happen. Okay. So I wasn't really sure, like, oh, I want to just make sure that the Refresh Tempe and the CIP somehow are going to be tied together, and whatever that looks like, I'll leave it up to you guys. But just so people don't click on it and say, oh, that must not be it.
Yeah, no, that again, we just did a pilot to show this and get some feedback. So the name is definitely open. Nikki, if it would be better to use the logo for that instead of solely the Tempe, we can definitely make sure that people can see that these things connect instead of seeing them as two separate activities.
And I would assume that the CIP stuff may even have more than we're talking about, and maybe Nikki would know better, but what we're talking about in our Refresh Tempe, outline and projects that we're going to highlight. I mean, this might be a little bit more detailed and include more projects than what we were thinking. I don't know.
We could make a tab called Refresh Tempe so that if you want it to be available on the rest of the CIP, there could be the more detailed and then something targeted like on the hub site for the Refresh Tempe component. But we can still try to make sure to bring that, be able to filter by those Refresh Tempe elements, just if we want to make sure that we're guiding people to those specific projects. So we can add filters and things like that so that we're speaking the same language
I have
across.
absolutely no doubt. All the dashboards that you've been able to bring to life have been really amazing. So, I mean, I know it's probably a work in progress too. So I really appreciate it. And I love it. I think the more pictures, the better, because that's, I think, what people want to see. That's what kind of gets people's attention. So I think that's super cool. I'm super stoked. So you guys did a phenomenal job. I look forward to seeing more. So thank you for your work. Thanks, Vice Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Dietrich. Let's see. Next, we have Tempe Promise program. So I'd like to welcome Real Salado President Kate Smith and Maricopa Community College's Foundation President Brian Spicker.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. Thank you so much, Council Member Arredondo Savage. We are thrilled to be here with you today. As you said, I'm Kate Smith, and I'm very, very fortunate to be a part of the Tempe community at Rio Salado College. I'm stoked, to use your word, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Just watching these first two presentations, I love being a part of Tempe. But I'm first going to hand it off to the amazing Brian Spicker, President and CEO of the Maricopa Foundation, who will introduce the concept of the Promise program that we're here to talk about. Is there an opportunity for us to partner together to continue some great work in the city of Tempe? So, Brian.
Thank you, Kate. Appreciate being here. Vice Mayor Keating, Council Member Arredondo Savage, city staff and guests. We're excited to be in front of the Workforce Readiness and Economic Vitality Subcommittee to talk to you about a unique effort that's been emerging across the valley. And we're excited to be here to bring some ideas and some programs here along the Promise effort. Next slide, please. Promise programs have been emerging across the nation. There are some 41 states that are engaged in a variety of Promise programs. Next slide. What they do is Promise programs can provide up to 100% of tuition and fees at post-secondary institutions after grants, after Pell grants, other financial assistance is had, it can close the gap. I would tell you, though, what's amazing about the Promise efforts is they're unique to what the community sees as is necessary to move post-secondary education and certifications forward. There are a variety that focus on workforce and industry efforts, and a variety that work on just post-secondary education. So you'll see in today's proposal a variety of efforts that are unique to Tempe. Next slide, please. Currently, we have Mesa Promise moving forward, which is happening with Mesa Community College. It's a 5-year plan. Peoria Promise has just emerged and has been funded, and that's a partnership with Glendale Community College. And we're in conversations with 4 other cities that represent Queen Creek, Scottsdale. Obviously, we're here talking to you in Tempe, and the city of Phoenix. So we're excited that our municipal partners, the cities where it happens, are interested in advancing post-secondary education goals and certifications, improving what we're all hoping to create in our community, and that is a flywheel of economic development. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kate, who's going to dig a little deeper into some ideas we have around the Promise program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. And next slide, please. So as Brian already alluded to, we're really excited about the possibility of partnering together for continued and greater impact within the city of Tempe. And so what we're bringing to you today, though, is a Promise program that goes beyond and is a little more innovative than the standard Promise program. And honestly, I haven't seen it done anywhere else. So we think that's also an exciting opportunity. But to set the context for that, information that I know that you're all very familiar with, but as context setting, our Tempe public schools, we know serve over 25,000 students. We know that 66% of them receive free or reduced lunch. For the families in those school districts, the median income is $50,875. And for those families in the school districts, 23% are below the poverty line, are living below the poverty line. We also know that across the city of Tempe, 6% adults age 25 and over have yet to complete a high school diploma. 24% of those adults age 25 and over, so not to conflate, we have ASU in our community, so that's why we did the 25 and older. But 24% of those 25 and over do not have some college, no degree. We also know, again, as part of our context, that there's been since 2017 a 96% increase in unsheltered individuals, and we applaud the work already being done in the city of Tempe and thank all of you and the city council for the work through the HOPE program. I wanted to share that we engaged in a survey and a study with the Tempe Chamber of Commerce. We surveyed all the businesses, trying to understand what their needs are and where we might come alongside and be supportive of meeting the workforce needs. And they identified for us that the greatest areas of need are in computer technology and business training. And so we think this Promise program has some opportunity kind of developing that pipeline and meeting the business needs across Tempe. And then finally, we really think that what we're proposing today can be another piece of the puzzle that fits in with what the city's already working on in terms of the College Connect Tempe, the Career Ready Tempe, and the Youth Workforce Initiative. So next slide, please. Quickly, a little background on Rio Salado College, founded in 1978 as a college without walls, which means we have in our fabric and in our DNA that we work to serve underserved communities, that we reach out and take education to folks who may not be able to access education in traditional ways. We serve nearly 40,000 students. We were one of the first colleges in the country to offer online education. We currently serve over 4,500 residents from the city of Tempe. We offer 140 programs. And then this is really unique. If you're not as familiar with Rio, we have over 40 start dates each year. So almost any Monday you can begin classes. So Vice Mayor, if you want to begin classes on Monday, we'll help you get started, or anybody else. And it's pretty great. We never have to cancel any of our online classes either. And then we also serve a large dual enrollment population, so we're already very connected with their Tempe school districts. We had almost 100 Tempe students graduate before they finished high school, also get an associate's degree this year. And of course, we offer the full suite of student support services remotely because of the unique offering that we have. Then on the right side of the slide, you'll see the Rio Salado College Economic Impact. This was a study done by MZ in 2019, and the study was done across Maricopa County as being part of the Maricopa County Community College District. So this is not specific to Tempe, but what we learned from the study is that we're a really good investment. So for every dollar invested, the student's rate of return is 14.5%. The taxpayer rate of return is 17.6%. And they found that Rio Salado College added an additional $736.1 million of added income. And then according to the National College Report Card, we've learned that Rio Salado College alumni have higher median earnings than peer institutions. So we feel confident, and I'm trying to turn the slide. Next slide, please. I'm using my own mouse and it wasn't working. Thank you so much. So we wanted to share that it is a good investment. Tempe and Rio have long partnerships, and we're grateful for that. And we just, again, want to present what we are looking at is 3 potential pathways for partnering on a Tempe Promise program. So the first pathway would address that more traditional Promise program population. Those would be our graduating high school seniors coming from the city of Tempe, demonstrated financial need as shown by applying for federal financial aid and therefore being what we term Pell eligible. We would be looking at asking for a 4-year financial commitment. The reason being that 90% of the students that attend Rio attend part-time because they're working and have obligations. And so we want to honor that for our graduating high school seniors. But we would require that they be enrolled in at least 9 credit hours per semester, maintain satisfactory academic progress, and this Promise program would be what we call a last dollar program. So after tuition and fees are covered as much as they can be by other financial aid sources, then this program would kick in and cover any remaining tuition or fees. And then we are requesting a stipend, an annual stipend. So really $500 per semester for fall and spring semester to support these students being able to stay in school and meet the needs of them and their families. So with Pathway 1, what you can see is that the annual cost varies from $41,000 to $55,000. And this would be cumulative because our students would stay with us. And so you can see the count of students each year. And what the average annual cost per student is we estimate it to be about $1,700 per student. So again, that's the more traditional Promise program. Next slide. Now we get a little creative. And so we're excited about this. What we're looking at is as we saw earlier, we know that within the city of Tempe, 24% of adults 25 and older have either no college or some college, but no degree. And so we see this is a real opportunity to, again, be innovative together and support that part of our community and increasing their pipeline into the workforce and higher skilled workforce for the businesses across Tempe. So with this pathway, we're looking at our residents who have no college or some college, no degree, again, demonstrated financial need. We would again be asking for that 4-year financial commitment, again, so that these are residents who can be working and going to school, but we require them to maintain at least 9 credit hours per semester, maintain satisfactory academic progress, and again, it's the last dollar covering tuition and fees after other financial aid has kicked in, plus the $500 per semester stipend, up to $1,000 stipend annually. So on the right side of your screen, again, you can see the graph that shows the annual and then the cumulative support needed for this pathway. And the annual support ranges from $77,000 to $103,000. And the average cost here would be $1,600 per student per year. And it's estimated a little lower because we believe some of these students will come with some prior credits or be eligible for prior learning assessment, receiving credit for some of the skills they've learned on the jobs already. And next slide, pathway number 3. Like door number 3. That's exciting. This is another population, and we saw that it's 6% of our Tempe population that does not have a high school degree yet. So what we're proposing here, so for context, Rio Salado College has the largest program in the state of Arizona serving our adult basic education needs. That's our GED student population, as well as our English language learning population. We're supported by the state to offer these programs, and I need to throw it in there. We've been 3-peat winners of Program of the Year, so we feel very confident about the work that we're doing in those programs. So what we're proposing as part of this Promise program then is to cover the cost of the exams for these students. And that becomes cost prohibitive for some of our students because they're really, surviving paycheck to paycheck. What this would allow them to do is complete that high school equivalency, receive that GED, and be able to continue on in their education and move into other positions in the workforce. In terms of our learning English for college and career population, the cost of the exam would allow them to do a workforce credential exam, like the Microsoft certificate, right? That enables them to enter the workforce once they've achieved an English proficiency that would allow them to get hired. So what we're asking for is a straight up cost up to $173 is our most expensive exam that these students take. And we would also be asking for the $1,000 stipend. And how that would be administered, I think, we would make a couple proposals if we were interested in pursuing this population. You can see the annual support there is between $87,000 and $117,000, and the cost is $1,173 per student, the stipend plus the $173 for the test. So next slide, please. Our summary. Oh, so exciting to think of being the first in the country to partner together potentially on more than a traditional Promise program, but including our returning adult learners and including our GED and English language learners. We can see that we have the potential to impact almost 700 families across Tempe with these pathways. It'd be a 4-year investment of $983,309. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of smiling because I want to like throw in and a set of Ginsu knives. But we're really, we're very excited about what we potentially could do together to invest in the, oh, and Nikki Ripley, if you're still on there, as you were speaking about the Refresh Tempe, I was thinking the subheading for this could be investing in your future as part of the Refresh Tempe. Next slide, please. This is our final slide, and really it's just highlighting the benefits of higher education. And so I won't read through it and just open it up for any questions, input, feedback, thoughts. Brian and I would love to engage with you on that. And then two of our colleagues are here as well, Neelam Patel and Zach Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Arredondo Savage, do you have any questions or comments?
President Smith, well, thank you very much. And of course, you know me, I always have a trillion questions. However, I feel like, okay, you've just kind of like scratched the surface of kind of what you're doing. And I think it'd be really great to get a little bit more details and kind of what that looks like. I love the idea that you've addressed the 3 different populations. And I want to just say, you know, before we even go any further, I just want to say thank you to you and to Rio Salado and the staff that I've been working with, you know, pretty much since my career being on the council, because you guys have always been phenomenal partners. Whoever is our point of contact, I just want to say thank you so much for always being willing to have a seat at the table and really work together. We all want the same thing, and I know how important that is, and you definitely can't do it by yourself. So you guys have been really remarkable partners, and I love the idea that you're thinking out of the box, doing something a little bit different, you know, and really kind of saying, hey, you know, cities, step up, put your money where your mouth is. I'm not afraid to say it. And you know, I feel like as a city in the state, I think we've done a lot of really great things when it comes to supporting our education partners and really just kind of developing our own education team in house. And some of the things that you mentioned on one of your slides, which of course Rio Salado's always been a part of. So I'm super, you know, grateful for that. And I do believe Marie Raymond is on this call also. So if you haven't heard of Marie, so Marie actually was the very first education coordinator that we hired in the city of Tempe, and she has just really done so many remarkable things, not only just in the education, but our communities with our families, and just really trying to build those relationships. So I know I've got a lot of questions, and I don't know if this is really the right time to dig into that, because I think it'd be really wise to understand where we are as a community as we've bought into, of course, Achieve 60, which, you know, Tempe's always overachievers. So we're Achieve 65. I don't know why we got to be different, but we always do. And we do have some performance measures as we have really work to grow those. And so it'd be really great to be able to address some of our performance measures and really understand, you know, where it is we're doing well, and some of the challenges that we're having, and then some of the cool things that are happening right now for us, and some of the revenues that we're going to be receiving. But if it's okay, I'd like to ask Marie, and if you don't mind, Marie, I'm putting you on the spot. I would have maybe texted you or something, but I don't even know where my phone is. I'm a mess right now. So, if you don't mind, maybe just a quick touch in with Marie and maybe get her initial thoughts and figure out a way that we can move forward and continue the conversation. Because I love the idea. I mean, I think you guys are really kind of putting it right back on the cities, where I think that it is a great investment for sure. And what that looks like, of course, you know how budget time works and where that is. And we're actually approving our budget this week. So, you know, that's kind of one of the things to think about and consider. But I do like the idea that you've given us options, which is always really nice too. Though I do like, you know, you went straight for the gusto though, Kate, with the 900 and whatever amount that was. I say, you know what, if you're
That's 4 years, over 4 years.
Go all in. So I totally get it. But anyway, I'm going to ask kind of Marie just to kind of get her overall thoughts and maybe how we can take this and continue this discussion and see where it lands.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. I had the opportunity to hear this presentation previously with the mayor, and I am a bit familiar with the Mesa Promise program, and I love the idea of the last dollar program. So you know, it really is a barrier for a lot of individuals. They receive some financial support, but not enough.
Thank you so much, Marie. I love that. I would love to follow up on that. Should I be talking right now? Robin, okay. Sorry, I jumped right in there. I guess what I'd love to think about is what's the best next step? What would be most helpful? What would be, is it connecting with Marie to kind of delve deeper, or Vice Mayor? Is there anything there? Robin, is there, sorry, Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
No, and Vice Mayor, if you don't mind, I'm thinking what might be great is I would love to kind of let our staff just kind of pick at it a little bit and just see, so we can kind of do some comparisons, and then maybe with a presentation, maybe even to the whole council at a work study session or something like that, in regards to how that might weave into what we're trying to achieve and what that could certainly look like, and then maybe a timeline to hopefully make a commitment down the road. So I think it's a great idea. Like I said, where we are in budget time always does kind of create a little bit of an issue, but you don't get what you don't ask for. So let's see. I'm okay with that, in the sense that we work together and maybe let Marie kind of drive it just a little bit from our end. If you're okay with that, Vice Mayor, does that sound like a good plan? And then maybe come back with the presentation, either through us or straight to the council. I'm not really sure of the protocol, but I'm open for your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. I think that's a good process, and I don't think we have done anything like that, but doesn't mean that we can't. So yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Well, and if Mesa can do it, I don't know why we couldn't do it. I'm just saying. I didn't say that out loud.
True.
And ours will be better, but Eddie didn't say that out loud either. Not competitive.
I think it really does make sense. And, in what we're trying to achieve and really trying to address our performance measures, I think this could be something that could really fit in. But I would, of course, go back to our staff and our team. And I think Adrian is on it. I don't know if Mary Maisie is there too, but, we have some really great individuals that are working really, really hard, to achieve the goals that we set forth. So I would love for them to be part of that conversation moving forward, and then trying to figure out a way that we can get it maybe whittled down a little bit to see what would fit best for us, and then maybe present it to the council as a whole, if you guys are okay with that. And hopefully we can work through that, in the next 30 days.
I love it.
Okay. You know me, I love
Yes.
it. I'd like it to happen next week, but I'm learning. It's only taken me 12 years, Kate, to figure it out. Things don't move as quick as you really want them to, but we want to get the right people at the table, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes, and I want to be respectful to everybody's work and your guys' time too. So I love the idea. I think it could be something that we could really partner with and truly make a difference in a lot of people's lives. No question.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like it's really a question of really answering the question around alignment in what you have going. So we can do that. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be great. And nobody knows it better than our team that has really worked hard. And it's been an evolution. It has been an evolution since Marie. Marie, how long have you been with the city now?
It has been 7 years.
What? Yeah. See? So we are committed. Overly, I love it. So I think that's a really great thing. But I would do that. I would leave it up to Maurice to reach out and try to, maybe work together and coordinate some of those details a little bit more and some of that data that we can share, and then kind of see where we could weave some things in. I think that'd be great.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much. We really appreciate your time and your interest.
Yeah, of
And
course.
really
I
look forward
appreciate
to
you
following
guys.
up.
I'm so sorry that we canceled on you like last minute last time. That was terrible of us. And I can't apologize enough, but thank you so much for coming back and being persistent, and just a great appreciation for everything that you guys do. It's just, you guys have been awesome partners and do a lot of really great things. So we're really grateful for you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. You will be hearing from Marie soon.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Councilmember Redondo Savage, do you have any new items or future agenda items you'd like to consider for our next meeting?
I don't, Mayor, unless we can do a follow-up maybe at our last meeting, a real quick one in regards to maybe the outline for the refresh stuff. That'd be probably good, and the point of contact, things to that effect. And if Marie's had an opportunity, we could just maybe do an update then. But I guess that'll all kind of depend on what kind of data is out there. That's it.
All right. Do you have any announcements?
No, Mayor, Vice Mayor, I have no announcements. Do you have any announcements?
You know, I really don't.
Okay, then.
Yeah, you know.
All right, cool.
Let's see. Well, with that, then our next scheduled meeting is June 27th, 2022. And we are adjourned.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Four oh six.